We have been working so hard with linear equations, and I've shown you several different ways that we can actually find the line that can be drawn from those equations. But what I didn't tell you is probably the easiest way. And what I'm going to teach you today is the code that goes with the linear equation itself. So what we're going to work on today is what's called slope-intercept form. Now you know that the linear equation is y equals mx plus b, and we call that function form. Well, slope-intercept form is the same thing. We actually say that this equation, y equals mx plus b, is the slope-intercept form of the linear equation. And we always want that form in order for us to work with the equation. But there's a code with it. So we know what x and y is talking about. That's my x-axis and my y-axis. We've talked about m represents the slope. What I've never told you is what the b was. And what the b is it's just where that line crosses the y-intercept. It's just a number for that. So how does that look in real life? Well, if we were just given the slope-intercept form of the equation, that's all I need to graph it. And where you always start is you start with that b, because that tells you the point where it's crossing that y-intercept. So what I'm going to do is I take a look at this and I see -3. Now remember, you can change minus to plus the opposite. So that shows me that it's crossing that y-axis at -3. And I go down to -3 and I just make a point. Now I know the m represents the ratio of rise over run. I only have a single number there, but I can always take and put a 1 under that 2 to keep it the same value. Now I have a rise and a run, and what that rise tells me is that I'm going to go up 2 and then over 1 and place the next point. Then I'll go up 2 over 1 and place the next point. So if I'm starting here, I'm going to go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. Now I've got my 3 points that I can just connect, and that forms the line. And we say that line is represented by the equation y equals 2x minus 3. It's the easiest way for us to actually find the line. And actually, most people just use the slope-intercept form in order to find it. Now, sometimes though, our lines can be going down. We have a negative slope. And the way we can tell it's a negative slope is I look at that value of m right here and I see it's a negative. Now notice there's no numbers there, and I know it has to be a ratio. So what I think of is just putting 1 over 1, because remember, we don't need to put 1 as a coefficient with any variable. So I could rewrite that as -1 over 1x plus 4 is equal to y. All right. I know it's a downward sloping line, but where do I start? Well, once again, you start with that y-intercept. So I'm going to go to +4 and I'm going to make a point. Now that negative means that I'm going to go down 1 over 1. So I'm going to go down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. And you can see that it starts to make that negative line. Once I have 3 points, and that's all I need, I can connect them. And you should always try to use a ruler so you actually get the straight line. And that would be the equation y equals -x plus 4. Remember, every linear equation has a line that matches it. We can always draw it. All right, but sometimes you're going to get equations and it looks like there's no b. Well, if you get an equation that looks like that, your b is always implied as the origin. And we know that the origin is that 0, 0 point. So we can just start right there. Every line has to cross that y at some point, but if it's at the 0 point, we just don't need to have that in our linear equation. Now, I know it's a downward sloping line because it's a negative. I can rewrite it as -1 over 1, so I can see that ratio of the rise over the run. So I'm going to go down 1, over 1, down 1, over 1. All I need is the 3 points, and I can connect them, and I just found my line. So the easiest way to find the line of any linear equation is just by using the slope-intercept form. Read the code, and it'll always work. Good luck. I know you'll do great.